The rain was endless in Cuba County, cold, stubborn, and heavy enough to wash away footprints, but never the blood. It fell on rusted rooftops and empty promises, a rhythm the people had learned to live with. Fear had become part of the weather.
But one woman refused to live in fear. Her name was Michelle Vega.
By day, she was a paramedic, the kind who never hesitated to run toward danger. She was quiet, professional, and unshakably calm in the middle of chaos. To her patients, she was a miracle. To her colleagues, she was a mystery.
But when the sun went down, Michelle became something else, something the streets whispered about in awe and fear.
She was the guardian of Cuba County. Clad in black with a silver streak across her mask, she moved like a ghost through the alleys, taking down gang members, loan sharks, and the corrupt men who thought themselves untouchable.
No one knew her face. No one knew her pain. But every criminal in Cuba County knew her wrath. Michelle's hatred for intimidation ran deep. It was born the night her younger brother, Leo Vega, was beaten to death for standing up to a gang working under the mayor's protection. Leo had refused to pay extortion money for their late mother's small pharmacy. The enforcers taught him a lesson in front of their own house while neighbors closed their windows and turned away. The police never investigated. The mayor's men ensured it was buried as street violence. That night, Michelle died in spirit. The woman who once saved lives now hunted those who destroyed them. By morning, she would wear her uniform, ride the ambulance, and patch up strangers who never knew that their savior was also the city's most wanted outlaw. By midnight, she wore her mask and disappeared into the fog. The media called her a menace, the people called her a hero, and the mayor, Alfonso Cruz, the smiling face of corruption, called her a threat. He ordered her capture. So the police brought in someone who could do it. Detective Jordan Reyes, a calm, brilliant officer from the capital, known for his discipline and his sense of justice. Their paths crossed by chance, or perhaps by fate. One rainy afternoon, Jordan found himself at the scene of a car crash. Amid the chaos, a woman in a paramedic uniform moved with unwavering precision, her hands firm on a bleeding man's chest. Her voice was steady. "Stay with me. Don't you dare die on me." Jordan watched in awe. There was something fierce about her calm, a quiet authority that didn't need badges or guns. Later, he learned her name. He met her again, then again, until coincidence turned to familiarity. They talked about work, the city, justice. She spoke little, but her words carried weight. There was a sadness behind her eyes that intrigued him. She made him believe in goodness again. He didn't know that the woman he was falling for was the very vigilante he had been sent to catch. In the darkness, Michelle continued her war. She struck at drug shipments, exposed human traffickers, and leaked names of corrupt officials to journalists. Each victory came with scars, but she bore them with pride. Yet every night she came home more haunted. Her brother's face lingered in her mind, his last words echoing, "Don't let them scare you, Chell." One evening, after a brutal encounter that left her bleeding, Michelle stood before the mirror and whispered, "I'm not afraid." But she was not of dying, but of feeling again, because every time she looked at Jordan, she felt the walls around her heart tremble. Jordan's investigation deepened. The Guardian's pattern was meticulous, precise strikes, always targeting the powerful, always vanishing before backup arrived. Then came the clue that changed everything. A partial footprint from a rooftop near a crime scene. The shoe model was rare, a paramedic's non-slip boot. He dug deeper and found surveillance footage, a blurred figure entering a hospital parking lot minutes after one of the Guardian's attacks. And then, in the background, her face, Michelle. For days, he tried to deny it. His mind said no, but his heart whispered yes. The way she spoke, the way her eyes carried grief and fire, it all made sense.
She wasn't a myth. She was a woman who had lost everything and chose to fight back.
And now he had to choose, expose her or protect her. The confrontation came on a night soaked in rain and regret. That night, Cuba East became a battlefield. Families screamed as trucks roared through the narrow streets. Armed men poured gasoline, torching homes of those who refused to move. And then, from the shadows, the Guardian descended. Michelle fought like a storm, fearless, relentless. The fire painted her mask red as she struck down one attacker after another. Jordan followed her, his badge forgotten, his loyalty torn between law and love. She saved dozens that night. Women, children, men who had lost hope. But every act of heroism has a price. From a nearby rooftop, Mayor Cruz's sniper took aim. Michelle saw the flash of the rifle just as a child stumbled into the open. Without hesitation, she ran, pushing the girl out of the way. The bullet hit her in the ribs. She fell to the ground, gasping as the world blurred. The little girl cried beside her. Jordan ran through the smoke, bullets flying past him, and dropped to his knees beside her. Her blood soaked his hands. "Stay with me, Michelle," he begged. She smiled faintly, the rain mixing with her tears. "You see, one person can change everything." And before he could answer, her eyes closed. The city's storm went silent. Next morning, Cuba County woke to a miracle and a tragedy. Mayor Cruz's crimes flooded the news files. Photos, bank transfers, all leaked from an anonymous source. Michelle had sent them before the final battle. Her death sparked a revolution of courage. Citizens took to the streets demanding justice. Within a week, Cruz was arrested. His empire crumbled. But the Guardian's face was never revealed. The people built murals instead, a masked woman with angel wings behind her, painted across walls and bridges. Children left candles and flowers beneath them. Jordan quit the force not long after. The badge felt meaningless now. Every night he visited her grave on the hill overlooking the sea. The rain always seemed to follow him, gentle, cleansing, endless. Months passed. Cuba County began to heal. Crime dropped. People spoke openly again. The fear that once ruled their hearts had turned into courage. But one night, a rumor spread. A new shadow moving across rooftops. A smaller figure, faster, lighter. A teenage girl was seen saving a woman from muggers near the old docks. She wore a mask with a silver streak, the same symbol that once belonged to Michelle Vega. It was the same child Michelle had saved in Cuba. She was older now, stronger, but carried the same fire in her eyes. When someone asked her who she was, she simply replied, "I'm nobody. I'm just someone who hates bullies." And as she vanished into the night, people began whispering again. The Guardian is back. Cuba County never forgot Michelle Vega, the woman who fought the impossible war and lit a fire in the hearts of the oppressed. Some called her a hero. Others called her a criminal. But to those she saved, she was something far greater. Proof that courage can be contagious, that even the smallest act of defiance can spark a revolution. The rain still fell. but it no longer felt like sorrow. It felt like renewal. Every drop carried her memory, the fearless, tragic, beautiful soul who stood against darkness.
And somewhere in that rain, her legacy lived on, not in masks or headlines, but in every person who dared to say no to intimidation.
Because the guardian of Cuba County was never just Michelle Vega.
She was the promise that justice, real, human, imperfect justice, would always find a way.
The end.